Hello, my dear student. This is your teacher again, Teacher William. And in the earlier video, we had discussed about the square. And we said the square of a number is the number multiplied by itself. For example, here we have the first 9 digits, that is from 1 up to 9. When each is multiplied by itself, we get this number here, which is referred to as the square of the number. In this video, however, we are going to learn about the square root. And when we talk about the square root, we want to ask ourselves, which number was multiplied by itself to give us the square? The square root is which number was multiplied by itself to give us the square. For example, what is the square root of 25? We want to ask ourselves which number was multiplied by itself to give us 25. For in our case here, we know that 5 times 5 gives us 25. So the square root of 25 is equal to 5. Another example, the square root of 64 is equal to, we have it here. Which number was multiplied by itself to give us 64? 8. So the square root of 64 is 8. However, at times we need to know the square roots of bigger numbers that are not in between 1 and 9. For example, 144. What is the square root of 144? There is a very simpler and simple way in which we can do this. We first divide the number into 2 like that, and then ask ourselves, of all these squares, which one is closer to 1? It must be 1 or less than 1. In this, but not more. In this situation, the square that is close to 1 is 1. So we say it's 1. And how do we get 1? 1 times 1 to get 1, and then we subtract. 1 times 1 is equal to 0. Then we drop these 2 digits down. We will have a new value, 4. Then what do we do next? This number that we got here, we multiply it by 2. What is 1 times 2? We get 2. Then we ask ourselves, which number do we introduce here? And the same number we introduce here, and when we multiply, we get 4 and 4. So what is important is to ask ourselves, which number, if multiplied by itself, will give us a digit ending with 4? And we can see in the case scenario here, it can only be 2 times 2 or 8 times 8. Let us try 2 and 2. So we introduce 2 and we introduce 2. What is 2 times 2 gives us 4. 2 times 2 equals 4. So this new value, this digit here, we introduce it there. And then we can comfortably say that the square root of 144 is equal to 12. We can have another example. For example, what is the square root of 169? We do the same. We divide our number into 2. Then we know the square that is closer to 1 is 1. How do we get 1? 1 times 1 equals 1. Then we drop these 2 digits, and the new value here is 69. Then we multiply the number up here by 2. 1 times 2 gives us 2. Then we ask ourselves, which number do we put here, and we multiply, and then we get 69. From our square table here, we know that the number ending with 9 can only be given by 3 and 7. Let us try 3. We have 3 and 3. 3 times 3 gives us 9, and 3 times 2 gives us 6. This digit here, we introduce it here. Then we say that the square root of 169 is equals to 13. And then we have a very last example is calculate the square root of 625. How do we go about it? Subdivide the number into 2 like that, and then ask ourselves, of all these squares, which one is closer to 6? And it must be lesser than 6 but not more than 6. So 4 is closer to 6. So we say here 4. Then we ask ourselves, how do we get 4? 2 times 2 gives us 4. In this case scenario, let us now subtract. 6 minus 4 gives us 2, and then we drop these 2 digits. We will have a new value, 225. Then we multiply this digit here by 2. What is 2 times 2? We get 4. Then we ask ourselves, which number do we introduce here? And the same number introduced here, when multiplied, will give us 225. And from what we already know is that the number that we multiply by itself and gives us a digit ending with 5 is 5 times 5. So let's try 5 and 5. What is 5 times 5? Let's introduce 5 and 5. So what is 5 times 5? We know 5 times 5 is 25. Carry 2. 5 times 4 is 20 plus 2, 22. So we know that this digit that we have introduced here, we bring it there. Then we say the square root of 625 is equals to 25. Thank you very much for listening and being a very good student. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel where we will be learning a lot. Thank you so much.